Well, it's not like Manchester United fans to actually have a decent win and have something to complain about, is it? I mean, yes, of course it is. I mean, there's nothing that we can do to actually just enjoy a game of football, can we? Because there's always something to be annoyed about. There's always something to kind of gripe about, and this constant emotional forecasting of what's going to come and all that just seems to ruin everything for us. And I'm going to try my best not to do that. There is an element of it going into the next few games, but I want to talk about this game, what I liked from it, a couple of potential warning signs, and then really the litmus test is the Bournemouth game on Monday Night Football. But before we get into it, please drop a like on the video if you are enjoying the channel. Subscribe if you are new, because if you are new, this is the non-toxic Manchester United channel. I'm trying my best to, just encourage and engage in healthy, calm discussion about the football club, because we all care. We all want Manchester United to succeed, and there's no need in, doing derisory thing or dividing the fan base any more than it already is. So if you want to be a part of a community that believes that and actually practices that on a daily basis, then please subscribe and get involved in the comments, because I do read and respond to every single one. Now, Manchester United versus Wolves. I mean, we all went into that game. I don't know about you, but I watched it with a slight degree of apathy. I was like, we have to win this game. No matter what happens, Manchester United cannot lose this game against Wolves. We cannot draw this game against Wolves. We have to win it, and we have to win it well. That was the only scenario where I think Man United fans would be somewhat happy, moving forward under Ruben Amorim this season. And there's been a lot of false dawns, and we're coming off the back of a really mixed run of results. So you get into the game and you think we've started with a really good intensity, and immediately the highlight of the game and the shadows are cast over the football ground, away from any good play from Manchester United and onto what's happening at Wolves. And before I get into the Man United side, I just want to say my heart bleeds for Wolves, because even though they've had some really good times and, they rightfully have enjoyed them and have lauded it over their rivals, I've got to say, they are being run by a club who had no long-term vision, who didn't really care what happened to them or happens to them now, and there is no ambition anymore. And I don't really know what's happened in the last couple of years, but they're a shell of the team that had the likes of Mateus Cunha, God bless him, Diogo Jota or Pedro Neto. They're just not the same team, and yeah, it's a shame, and I wonder what's really gone on behind the scenes. But to see the fans, some of them turn their back while watching and all this, it just makes me think the only ones that actually suffer in a situation like this is the fans. It's got nothing to do with the owners. They don't care. They care if they're doing well, and they stop caring if they're not doing so well, and they don't care enough to put it right by the looks of things. So my heart goes out to them. So I do feel bad for Wolves, and ultimately a cultivated atmosphere that was going to make it incredibly difficult for Wolves to get into this game at all. When they did get a pretty dodgy goal, a decent finish, when they got that scruffy goal, one that we've conceded quite a lot this season, it has to be said, I wasn't worried. I just didn't like how that was just before halftime and the discourse was happening. So I did say publicly, I was like, if this goes badly, I didn't think it would, but if it did go badly, then this is going to be ugly for Ruben Amorim, and I don't see how he survives that after the likes of West Ham and Everton, 3 must-win games, getting 1 point potentially out of all of them, or 2 points, unacceptable. So we had to win it. We had to rally back, and that's exactly what we did. I mean, the whole first half, we should have scored more goals than what we did. And the best chance we had, we almost contrived to miss, which we did score with Bruno. But that kind of summed up our first half. We weren't really at it as much as we should have been from the final third perspective. I thought our passing was good. I thought our range was good. I thought what we were actually doing was good stuff. But ultimately, we just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. And then finally, in the second half, we did. And we did it to great aplomb. I think the goal from Brian Mbeumo was the best by far. A quick, incisive, deadly counter-attack, which Man United have always done over the years, and that's something that we wanted to see a bit more of. So a fluid, incisive mood from the likes of Dallo, who I thought had a very good game. That was good. I really enjoyed that, and a nice little, add to the tally for Brian Mbeumo. And, we had a penalty. I can't even remember the other goal, but to have 4 goals away in a Premier League game, I don't care who it's against. You have to make sure that you beat what's in front of you. And Mason Mount, for me, was the standout player. I thought Bruno was brilliant in what he did. I think he was given the license to actually do probably what he should have done against Everton. I'll be honest, is what he should have done against West Ham, because you had two teams then that sat in. Wolves sat in, but we broke them down 4 times. And that was nice to see, that even though Wolves haven't got the best quality, we broke down a team that always sits in and tries to counter you. We broke them down 4 times, and we probably should have scored more. On any other day, we might score 6 or 7, and if we come away from that game 6-1, 7-1, or 6-0, 7-0, no one's really going to bat an eyelid. But we had 27 shots, we had like 10 or 12 on target. We battered them on every single metric. It was not close, and it was never close, really. So you have to give the players props for that, because it was a must-win game, and they went and did it. So, and they did it 4 days after their last game. So it's not like, you know, we have the deepest squad. It's not like we have, you know, the best quality squad at the minute. So it was just nice to see the same team that stumbled, you know, against West Ham to go on and batter another team. It was a good response. And now the litmus test happens to be Bournemouth. And I think the only thing that I want to kind of mention is there's this bit of a discourse about Ruben Amorim with integrating youth players. And I was one of the first to say I absolutely wanted Shea Lacey to play in that Wolves game. I thought it was the perfect environment for him to play. But you got to remember, like, who he has brought on. I see Martinez, I see Dorgu, I see Yoro, who's a mix of young players and players coming back from injury that he's trying to get the sharpness back into going into this congested Christmas fixture schedule. So it's not like, you know, he's actively ignoring them, but maybe he's just going to miss Amadou and Mbeumo like so much that he didn't want to take them off. Or he's going to miss Mbeumo so much didn't want to take him off because he's going to AFCON. But Shea Lacey was there. And there was no better environment to bring him on when there's 4-1 up. There ended up being like 10 minutes of extra time. You could have got 15 to 20 minutes at least in the tank for Shea Lacey. You should have done that. Ruben was wrong. There's no doubt in my mind. Ruben should have done that. Should have brought him on. Having said that, like I say, I think he is trying to get some sharpness and match fitness into the players who will be regularly featuring in this period. So I want to be fair on him on that point as well, because that's probably what he was doing with the likes of Dorgu, Xerxes, Martinez, obviously, and Yoro. And it's not like Yoro's the oldest player in the world, is he? He's a teenager. And, you know, saying Ruben hasn't brought in young players. I mean, he gave Mainu a good half an hour in that game, which is what he should be getting. A good half an hour, including extra time. But that's what he should have been getting. And I think he will feature more once the AFCON players are going. Maybe pushing Bruno a bit further forward with Mount and Cunha occupying different roles. Xerxes occupying those roles. So, all in all, I think when it comes to his youth integration, you've got to also remember he bought Aiden Heaven. And he's played him. He brought in Tyler Fredrickson and he's tried to play him. He did bring on Harry Amas for his debut as well. So it's not like this is a guy that hasn't been bringing them on. I would like to see them with a bit more of a regularity, because I think when you are playing games that are boring and that are stagnating, you should be injecting some sort of freshness into it, which Ruben has to get better at. And I look back at the game, you know, when I was watching, I thought it was boring at the time. I thought it was really boring, but then I watched it back. No, it wasn't. Like, we were peppering their goal. We should have scored a lot more goals. And yes, it was frustrating to not score them, but let's not act like Wolves were ever in the game. And yeah, Wolves haven't got the quality. They've been terrible, but they're in the Premier League. We still beat them. And had we lost, that could have been a sacking for Ruben. It could have been a draw, and it could have been worse. So we end the game 6th in the Premier League and level on points with Chelsea, and there's no rumblings about Chelsea. There's no issues with Chelsea. Everyone seems to be loving them, despite the fact that they spent billions on their squad with this manager spent hundreds of millions on their squad in various different areas. They have a much deeper squad than anyone in the league, and yet they're struggling. So, well, they're not struggling. Everyone thinks they're doing well, but they're tied on a team that is struggling, who haven't got the depth that Chelsea have. So, ultimately, if you'd have said to me that in the games that we had, where it was Everton at home, West Ham at home, Crystal Palace away, and Wolves away, I looked at that and said 10 points. That's what I wanted. I wanted 10 points. And we stuttered badly against Everton and West Ham, but we picked up a win that I don't think many people would thought likely away at Palace, which is a difficult place to go. They've beaten Liverpool, for example, who we are ahead of, by the way. But all of that means that we have had 7 points out of those 10. The draw at West Ham, the win at Palace, and the win at Wolves. So I'm not going to lose my mind over the fact that we are probably 3 points worse off than what I expected at the beginning of the fixtures. context is everything. I did expect to go and win that Everton game. I didn't really expect 4 in a row in this time. I did not expect the Palace win at all. I was expecting a draw at best away at Palace, and we beat them. So you can always mix that in with the other results that maybe you thought we should have won. And we probably end up around a similar level. But like I say, probably 3 points away from where I thought we would be. And I'm not going to lose my mind over 3 points. I'm not. And those 3 points, yes, would have taken us to 4th. And yes, it could have done this, but it didn't. It's time to move on. And moving on means moving on to a Bournemouth team who are struggling at the minute. And really is a team that coming to Old Trafford, if we beat them, we're in a pretty good stead going into the Christmas break. So it's interesting to see just the discourse of what everyone's been saying. And I do understand it because the nature of some of the losses, some of the draws have led people to think that it's not going to get any better. I thought the nature of this win was about as dominant as it could be. Yes, we could have more goals, but we did dominate them. And that's what you want to be seeing. But now the litmus test is Bournemouth. And over this period, I mean, I've not liked the roller coaster. I've not liked the up and downs of it. I did expect a bit more of a upward standard stable curvature given the quality of the opposition that we were playing over the last few games. But ultimately, like I say, I think we're about 3 points worse off than where we should be or where I would have expected at the beginning of that run. And this is a really weird Premier League season where teams are being beaten left, right and centre all the time. So let's just see what happens against Bournemouth. I'm going to reserve a lot of judgment until that game, but I wanted to come on here and say to lose your mind over that Wolves game is silly. That's not the game to do it. We did well. We got a good win. Scored a bunch of goals. Good stuff. +4 positive goal difference. We have 6 points better off than we were last season under Ten Hag with a mix of Ruben coming in. And we are in a better position than when we were then. I think the nature of football does need to improve. I do want to see slick movement, some slick passing, some slick, intense play. And I want to see it quicken up because it is slow. It can be pedestrian at times, but when you win, it's controlling a game. When you lose, it's no ambition. It's a weird little dichotomy to fall on. But a few standouts in that game. Mason Mount I thought was brilliant. Bruno was brilliant. I thought Ahmad constantly was trying to do something. Cunha and Ahmad seemed to want to get a goal badly. And that kind of shone through. And in that game, you can get away with it. I don't want to see that against Bournemouth. It's a team game. Get the win. As best that you can, whoever's in the best position. I thought Aiden Heaven, really good. I thought Luke Shaw with his crunching tackles, solid. I thought Dallo was really good. I thought Mazraoui was really good. Casemiro, bossed it. So, really good. Really good. Again, I'm not going to get too excited because it's Wolves. But I'm also not going to go down the rabbit hole of not being excited at all because it was just Wolves. I'm trying to find the middle point. And the middle point for me is that it was a decent performance, good game of football, where we now have to take on that sort of enthusiasm and that feel-good factor into Bournemouth so that it can actually be sustained for longer than one game. But what did you think of the game? Let me know in the comments below and get down your predictions for Bournemouth. Immediately, I'm going to say if we have Seshko back, if we can start Martinez or get him at least a half of football, if we can maybe get De Ligt back. I don't know where he is at the minute, but our strongest team versus their strongest team, we beat them, in my opinion. But I think it could be a slippery little draw. But I think we do have enough quality to get the win, especially when it's their last game before AFCON. They're probably going to play the full 90 minutes, the likes of Ahmad, Mazraoui and Mbermo, because why not? So let's see. Let's see what happens, but God, I'd love a win against them. But yep, thank you very much for joining on this video. Subscribe if you are new, and I will see you after Bournemouth.